Hey everybody, and welcome to the 5 Bytes Podcast. I'm your host, Rory Monhan. And the podcast, as always, is brought to you by my sponsors. That includes Numescent, the inventors of the first and only cloud-native container management platform for Windows desktops. And also brought to you by Master Packager, an application packaging software that helps you build packages that end users love, enterprises want, and the Windows OS needs. If you enjoy the show each week, you have these awesome sponsors to thank. And now for some news. Microsoft has confirmed that the recent Windows updates trigger remote app connection failures on Windows 11 24H2 and 25H2 and Windows Server 2025 devices in Azure Virtual Desktop environments. BleepingComputer.com reports that this known issue occurs after installing the November 2025's KB5070311 non-security update or a later one. Affected organizations can mitigate this bug by adding a registry key while a user's logged in. Microsoft also mitigated this bug on Windows Pro and Windows Enterprise devices through a known issue rollback and advised users to restart their devices to accelerate the deployment of this known issue rollback fix. Microsoft added that it's currently working to resolve this known issue, but it has yet to share a timeline for a permanent fix such as a fix in an upcoming Windows update. Following up on a story that I recently covered, Microsoft has asked businesses to reach out to them for advice on how to temporarily mitigate the known message queuing issue that was caused in enterprise applications and IIS just recently, I believe, in this month's Patch Tuesday Windows updates. So if you are having issues in enterprise applications or you notice IIS has started to fail on certain sites after installing the recent Windows updates, please reach out to Microsoft to work with them on a resolution and hopefully help other people too. Late last week, an hour-long outage of Microsoft Teams hit users worldwide. It started at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the US on Friday. And this was a global outage, but given the time that it started, I'm guessing that North American customers were probably disproportionately worst impacted. I'm sure those in Europe, particularly this time of year as well on a Friday, they would not have been disrupted or working that late, is my guess. But hey, who knows? There are some people who do swing shifts and also just work with American companies, and even on a Friday they have to work late. So I'm sure it impacted some, but probably more so for those in North America. It seems to have been resolved and it only lasted about an hour. Tom's Hardware has reported that nearly 7,000 of the world's 8,808 operational data centers are located in climates that fall outside the temperature range recommended for efficient operation. And this is thanks also to new analysis that maps global data center locations against long-term climate data. And it's a study by the Rest of the World. Odd name, but that seems to be the name of it. And it also suggests that while only a minority are in regions that are persistently too hot, the findings underline how economic, political, and network realities often outweigh environmental sustainability or suitability when companies decide where to build. In 21 nations, including Singapore, Thailand, Nigeria, and the United Arab Emirates, every operational data center is located in a zone classified as too hot under current recommendations. Nearly all facilities in Saudi Arabia and Malaysia fall into the same category. In Indonesia, close to half of the country's 170 data centers are in overly hot regions, while in India, about 30% of its more than 200 sites are exposed to sustained high temperatures. Yeah, I find this really interesting because many years ago, one of the reasons given for the fact that Ireland has so many data centers is, well, yeah, it's taxing on the electrical grid here, but think about the bigger picture. You know, our climate is so well suited to these data centers, it's better to have them here where they'll operate more efficiently and maybe be less of a drain on power than somewhere else where the climate is maybe a little warmer. But you see this report suggests that even in these hot places, they're operating many, many data centers as well. And it does make sense because just from a logistics perspective, like the report suggests, you know, the network realities, the proximity, those data centers are going to be required in those hotter regions too. So, not ideal, but unfortunately, I guess this is the reality. Hopefully, there's a better solution on the horizon. In another update to a story covered on last week's episode of the podcast, that one about LG customers noticing a Copilot app forced installed on their TVs with no option to remove it. Well, a representative from LG has reportedly told Engadget.com that the company will take steps to allow users to delete the shortcut icon if they wish. So you can't yet, but soon you'll be able to remove Copilot from your LG devices. Also, another follow-up to a story covered on the podcast previously, it has now come to pass that Steam has ended support for its 32-bit version of their application. So that's probably about time, and others should be following suit. 64-bit has been around for a long time. It's time to put 32-bit to bed. Of course, legacy applications that are still rocking 16-bit have only just started to be left behind since Windows 11 has gone to 64-bit only, but it's probably time to start the transition from 32-bit applications to 64-bit as well. Recently, Mozilla indicated an AI version of the browser is likely on the way. The news of this was met with some negative reaction from fans of the browser. In my experience, those who are most concerned with a monopoly in the browser market and of intrusive ads and questionable data handling prefer browsers like Firefox and Brave, so this kind of response is not that surprising. The CEO of Mozilla, Anthony Enzor DeMeo, moved recently just to quell concerns, saying, quote, "My job is not to ignore one group to serve another. It is to make Firefox work for everyone without losing its core values. Rest assured, Firefox will always remain a browser built around user control. That includes AI. You will have a clear way to turn off the AI features. A real kill switch is coming in Q1 of 2026. Choice matters, and demonstrating our commitment to choice is how we build and maintain trust." End quote. So hopefully that appeases people. I mean, if you already trust Mozilla and Firefox, then maybe you'll have enough trust that if you toggle that feature off, that it is going to be respected. Business Insider published an article recently about Microsoft's focus and near obsession with AI and making sure that they do not lose out in this market, such as by making sweeping organizational shifts, including high-profile executive changes and mandates for teams to work faster and leaner, all designed to consolidate power around AI leaders and radically reshape how the company builds and funds its products. It is alleged that Satya Nadella, the CEO, is pushing for intensity and urgency, with at least one senior executive suggesting veterans in the company may be looking for the exit, saying, quote, "You've got to be asking yourself how much longer you want to do this." End quote. Nadella has talked about how AI startups are operating and how Microsoft is also working with this way and emphasizes the work effort required. And I covered that, I think maybe it was last week or 2 weeks ago, how apparently he's studying over the weekend on how AI startups operate. Well, according to an internal memo, Nadella also started a weekly AI accelerator meeting and corresponding Teams channel to speed the pace of AI work and get more ideas from across the company. Executives do not present in these new meetings. Instead, lower-level technical employees are encouraged to speak and share what they're seeing from the AI trenches. This is designed to avoid top-down AI leadership and is intentionally a bit messy and chaotic, according to people familiar with the new approach. Personally, I love that. I think that's a great idea. I think executives designing features and the products too much can be detrimental because they're way too busy with the kind of admin side and just not really in the trenches, as the terminology was used there, say, compared to the actual engineers themselves. So allowing the engineers to have a little more influence in the product development and the roadmap, I think makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, in this case, Microsoft is really behind the eight ball when it comes to generative AI technology. They have an awful lot of work to do to catch up to, say, Google, for example. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops in 2026. But now, this episode's scripts, tricks, and tips. First up, there's a new script published on GitHub that promises to remove all the AI stuff in Windows 11 with a single click. Now, I will give this disclaimer. I have not actually tried it. I'm not sure I want to because, at least for the sake of my job and also this podcast, it's useful for me to get exposure to this tooling to see how it's getting on and developing. But if you want to look at it and you want to try it out, I'll share a link to that with this episode, and you'll find it over at 5bytespodcast.com with episode 419. And finally, I found an article recently on xda-developers.com that recommends alternative IDEs to Visual Code. Specifically, in this instance, there's a review on something called Zed that I've never heard of before. Personally, I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with Visual Code over the years. I must say, though, I've been trying the Copilot feature within Visual Code recently, and I've actually really enjoyed it. It has somehow been better than trying to work with, say, ChatGPT or just the chat of Copilot itself for some scripting questions. So, yeah, I found that interesting. So I guess 2 tips. 1, check out the article if you're looking for an alternative to Visual Code. And 2, if you haven't tried the Copilot feature within GitHub, give that a try too. But hey, it's Christmas week, so Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate it, a belated Happy Hanukkah, a future-looking Happy New Year, or just a happy holidays in general to all those who are celebrating something at this time of the year. The next episode up should be the annual wrap-up episode that I've been doing for several years now. So thank you all for listening over the last year and for continuing to give me your support. It's very much appreciated, and I'll catch you in 2026.